So in this video, I'll be going over some lineups for Fade on Ascent. I'll be going over all the different sides, attacking and defending and stuff like that. I do want to just mention a few general points first when it comes to Fade's Haunt ability and her Seize ability as well. I won't be going over lineups for Seize in this video, I'll just be talking about her Haunt ability. But it's worth knowing they follow the exact same path, her Haunt and Seize. For example, if I throw this one here, and then I throw that one there as well, you can see they land at the same spot. Normally you want your Haunt to be landing higher up, and you'll be wanting your Seize to land where people actually are, but it's all useful information to know. And don't feel like you have to rely on lineups to use her Haunt ability and her Seize ability. Let's say there's someone planting or people have taken A site, you can just ping where you want it to land, throw it roughly there. It won't go exactly on that ping, but it helps you get that general idea. So with her Seize ability, if someone's planting, you want to get it right around there in between the two defaults, throw it there, and then look, it lands like that, and it gets both the defaults. Just like that. I also want to talk about momentum when it comes to these abilities, specifically with Haunt, just because this video is going to be about Haunt. I think it works the same with like Viper's mollies, but you can make it go a lot further and shorter in some situations, depending on whether you're moving forwards or backwards. So you can see here, let's just use this point as a reference. If I'm just standing here and throw it, let's say at there, it goes that far. But if I've got momentum running forward, throw it from the same point, it goes a lot further. And if I throw it from the same point going backwards, you can see it falls a lot shorter. So mostly you'll just be using that to throw it like further, because you'll be doing some lineups and stuff where you want to run and then throw it so that it goes further. And while it might not seem quite as impactful as moving forwards, moving backwards will make it fall shorter, which is useful to know. Probably not as useful as moving forward to make it go further, but there you have it. And one last thing with this Haunt ability, you always want it to be landing up higher whenever you can. I'll talk about this more again at the end of the video, but whenever you can get it higher up, it's always just going to be more useful, because not only will it throw off someone's crosshair placement more for them to break it, it also will just in general cover more ground and clear more angles. So with that out of the way, let's start getting into some of these lineups. So I'm going to be starting obviously on A site, attacking then defending, mid attacking then defending, and then B site attacking then defending. One thing that you want to know, that's really important to know with Fade's Haunt on A site, is that these leaves, it actually sees straight through them. The only thing that I won't see through is this branch right here. But if you're getting it like any sort of around this area right here, it can see into trees. So because it can see these people in tree, one thing that you want to do, or one thing that I like to do, back yourself into this corner right here, and then you want to aim like right there, basically as high as like where that wall ends. You want to aim there, then just do a normal jumping throw. You can see it lands up there. It'll clear people close in tree, and it'll also clear a lot of this right side. I'll show you one more time where it is actually going to clear on the right side. Again, aiming right there. You can see how there's that one brick that stands out a lot, like right here. That's where you want to aim, above there. So you can see right there, jumping through, it'll clear tree. And a lot of that right side, even some of heaven or some of rafters there, if people are playing on there, it'll catch them out. There are a few really good lineups from on top of here. So if you're having trouble getting up here, even I struggle to get up here sometimes, you want to practice in a custom game, even to spend 2 minutes just figuring out how to consistently get up here. Practice getting up here, because there are quite a few good lineups from this spot. One of them is going to be, if you just press up into this corner on top of this box, don't jump up here, just from down here on this box. Aiming right around at that ledge, you can see, just do a normal throw, it'll land right on that corner, it'll clear all this close side, it'll even clear behind that box there. If you throw this, let your teammates know, it might clear behind here. Get ready to shoot at it through a smoke if the enemies have a smoke up. Again, aim at that corner, it'll land up there, it'll clear all of these areas. Like so, obviously there's not going to be that many players on one team, but these are common places that people will play from, and you can see this lineup will clear all of those out. Again, coming into this corner, aiming right around there. So you don't have to be too perfect with this one. It's going to be that ledge right there. You can see just a normal throw, landing right on that corner, clearing out all of these places, even underneath. It even clears out these spots as well. So that means when you're coming onto site, you don't have to worry about all of these places here. You might just have to worry about people swinging out from heaven or from behind gen. It just gives you a lot less to worry about. Now, one more from on top of this ledge, which is pretty inconsistent, but if you can perfect it, it is actually insane. It clears so much. What you want to do is come towards the back of this. There's this mark on the wall right here, as you can see, that one there. And if you aim at it from right around here, then just do a running jumping throw, you can see it'll go, and it can get on top of there and that just clears an insane amount. All these angles behind Dice, behind Jen, behind that box, it clears so much. The only issue is it can be a bit inconsistent because there's no way to perfectly start from the exact same place every single time. But do a running jump and throw again from there, aiming at that crease. You can see there I got it a second time, but that time it didn't clear that angle, which can be the issue with this one. Is it looks like it'll land in the same place, but it won't clear a certain spot and you won't even know. So you can see that time it didn't clear Dice, but you wouldn't know because it can be a bit inconsistent. If you spend a bit of time perfecting this one, maybe you'll find a way to get it really consistently, because you can see it has the potential to just recon so much of sight for you. It can clear behind Dice, it can clear behind there, all that sort of stuff. So it's worth knowing. Just know that some of these spots you want to keep an eye on where exactly it lands, because you can see with your indicator where it lands. You can tell, okay, it didn't land all the way up there. You can see that time it fell down quite a lot, it didn't get on top of that. So you need to know that behind Dice and behind that box, maybe it didn't clear. This lineup from this area, still mostly just wanting to clear this side, especially this one will very consistently clear out behind Dice, behind Jen, stuff like that. Back into this corner. Now obviously you want to do this when it's safe. Maybe there's a smoke up there or something. What you want to do is back into this corner, and then you just have to run on your second step, throw.
I'll find you.
You can see that it clears behind Jen, behind Dice, it even gets behind that box and behind this one as well. So one more time, back into this corner, aiming right at that corner there, and then on your second step.
Where are you? Marked 5.
Is that all those angles there. Now obviously in the middle of a game it might be a little bit harder to hear your own footsteps, so again I think it's worth practicing these on your own in a custom, because eventually you will get the timing down and you won't have to worry about hearing your steps at all. You'll just get used to like knowing the timing and knowing exactly when to throw it. Now let's say you've actually gone onto the site, you've got site control down, you're getting spike planted, all that, and now you're waiting for the defenders to come in and try and defuse the spike. One that I like to do is come into this corner right here, aim this part of your HUD up with that area of Jen. You can see there's that little white mark like right there. Aim it up like so, and then just do a jumping throw and it'll get right on top of this corner. So this will tell you if they're coming up from rafters, or instead if they're going down into tree. I'll show you one more time what that is actually going to ping.
I'll find you.
See, it clears into tree. It won't clear like this sort of area here if they're hugging this wall for whatever reason. So without a lineup, you can always just throw it really far over that wall, and you can see it'll not only clear this area, it'll also clear down here. So maybe you can see just how far away the defenders actually are. Maybe you know with that you've got time to run out into main or something like that. When it comes to defending a side and just defending with Fade in general, quite often you won't actually need lineups. You can literally just throw it over a wall or something, like you can see here. You can just throw it over the top, and then it'll give you information about whether or not there is anyone in this area right here. You can see that occasion specifically, maybe it didn't clear this, maybe it didn't clear that, but people aren't going to be hiding in corners right at the side of a round when they're going to push a site. So that should be more than enough. But if you do want a few lineups, maybe to catch people off guard so they won't break it in time, one thing you can do, come on top of this box right here. It's easy to jump onto from heaven. You want to aim above there, so you're just like right in between these two almost, and just do a running jump off and throw it as you jump. It'll land up here and it'll clear all this sort of area along here, as well as some of the lobby. Pretty good lineup. Another similar one, which you don't have to get on top of anything to do, and it's really easy. You can see from back here, this roof, that's where it's going to be landing. So you can, if you want, do a running jump from all the way back here, so it's easier to see the roof. You can see it lands up there, it clears main still, but you can do it a little bit easier just from here and aiming right at that. Just do a jumping through without seeing the roof, and it'll land a little bit nicer on the corner there. And again, it'll clear lobby and it'll clear main as well. When it comes to retaking a site with Fade, there's one really good one for clearing out more of these closer angles along here. What you want to do is tuck yourself into this corner, aim at this pole that's got this yellow part and it's got this darker part here. You want to aim a little bit closer to that darker part. Just do a normal throw. You can see it'll land right up here and clear out all these closer angles. This one's especially good if you're not even sure about what's going on up here. Maybe someone's right up in this close corner, and you can see when it lands there, it'll clear out all of these sort of areas here. It won't get right here, but obviously you can just get that as you're coming in yourself. Did I mention sometimes it will also like bounce off this and land here weirdly, but it will still clear all those same spaces, so don't worry about if it bounces down there instead. Another one from the exact same spot and even aiming at the same place to clear a little bit further back. Maybe I'll show you instead you want to be clearing out behind here, down here and stuff like that. What you can do from the same spot and aiming in that same place is just do a running jump, and you can see it'll take itself nicely down there. It will land right in front of them, but then you can just listen to where they shoot it from. Did they shoot it from the right? Did they shoot it from the left? Then you know, well, someone's behind here, someone's going to be back there on the right, stuff like that. It is also possible to get it on top of there, like on top of that ledge or on top of there, which will clear the same sort of thing. Again, it's just pretty inconsistent to do, as it is with a lot of the running ones. You can see that time it is going to land on top of there. It's going to clear it on the left, won't clear on the right, so you have to get it like there to clear on the right. So if you want to come into Ascent and a custom yourself to try and figure that one out, definitely give it a shot. I think it's worth the time because that one angle is a pretty common one for people to play from. Now these ones are going to be a little bit less so lineups, just really easy places to throw. Along this entire roof up here, you can see you can just get it on top of just by throwing it. Gets there, it clears out all these closer angles. Maybe if you want to try get it up there, I'll throw it a little bit higher. It'll get on top of that ledge, and you can see then it'll clear out these right side ones. It's a little bit harder to do an actual lineup from here because obviously there's going to be people on this site wanting to shoot you. You don't have the time to come line up here, sit here, be like, okay, go right here. Yeah, you won't have time to do lineups up here, but you'll get the hang of really easily just throwing it on top of there. Gets on top of that roof. You can see that time it'll clear all these closer angles, and you can get it on top of there as well by aiming it higher, and then it'll clear those angles on the right side. And of course, you don't have to get on top of roofs. It just means that it's more likely for people to not notice it in time, and you'll actually get the information from the ping specifically. But you can always just throw it straight over the top right into the middle of sight. You can see it'll clear a lot of these angles still as well. With A side in general, there's so many insane spots you can get to, just like on top of all these ledges here, especially on top of these. There are insane lineups, and those are a few of the more consistent ones, again, apart from this one, which can just be insanely useful. But you can see stuff like that. It looks like it was going to land perfectly up there, and instead it falls down there and clears like 2 angles. That's a bit unfortunate, but there were a lot more consistent ones, which you saw me show you just then. Now when it comes to mid on Ascent, there's just not so many lineups you can do in general. It's just much more open space. There's not as many places people will be hiding anyway, but there are still a few different lineups which can be useful. This I'll be showing you now, you can be a bit exposed to this area of bottom mid, but keeping in mind, maybe only do these if you get the kill on the player bottom mid, or someone can smoke it for you. This first one is going to ping some of tree, or like that short area, as well as some of bottom mid. You'll see what I mean surely on the edge there. So I'll try it this time. Let's see if that one will clear it. It will clear it. So it is possible to clear that corner as well. You just have to be a lot more precise with it. You have to help yourself by pinging the corner and getting it to line up like there. And again, you are going to be a little bit exposed to bottom mid there. Same thing here with the pinging. If you ping right on that face on the top of the little archway there, then line up your crosshair on top of this box, and then jump right as you go to throw it. Okay, that time I jumped a little bit too early. You can see there. It will get on top of that. It'll clear both angles on bottom mid, and it will also, I didn't put any sages here because I just like putting them in the corners instead, but it will clear like this entire area up here. You can see it's all the way up here. Within 30 meters, it'll clear this entire area. Anyone peeking there, anyone peeking there, anyone peeking from pizza as well. And again, that is from top mid that you're getting all this information from. So you just want to mark right on top of that gateway, line it up on top of this. Even I found it especially useful if you line up like the top of that with the corner of this box. Just aim there and then jump right before you hit that box, and it'll get up there pretty consistently, surprising. Again, this sort of area, it's not really like practical to clear from here. I'm pretty sure you can get it on top of that roof pretty easily, but it is the same thing that you could get by getting all that other information. So in general, clearing tree and this sort of mid cubby area from here just isn't that good. You get a little bit more access and just more information in general by coming from this area. What I think you should do the most is, again, get someone to smoke down here for you, have someone on your team peeking with you, so at least if you do get killed here, you can get traded. But what you honestly want to do
Where are
is just
you?
throw it further in like that, because then not only will you get the information on the cubby, you'll get information on the inside of tree as well. If you really want,
There.
you can get on top of that roof here just by lining it up with the ping and
Where
aiming
are
high enough and aiming enough to the left.
Mark two.
You'll be able to get on top of that roof, but it is not going to be that useful, I feel, especially because you can only get it that far, so you can't even clear
There.
into this corner right here from this area of safety. You can do it from out here obviously, but then you're exposed to so many different angles. You could get a lineup for it, but it's just not going to be practical. So again, what I would do instead is have someone smoke off bottom mid, get someone to peek with you to trade you off, and just throw that one pretty deep into tree, so it'll clear out both
Mark three.
inside tree
There.
and in cubby as well. And you get the hang of that one pretty
Find
quickly.
you.
Again, there's not really a lineup for that one. Just get it in the
Mark
doorway
three.
and it'll clear those angles. Now, when you start pushing into this area here, like bottom mid,
There.
more towards pizza and stuff like that, you can get it into some of
There.
these areas like along here,
There.
up here, and
There.
up here as well. The only issue becomes you sort of have to trade off what sort of information you do want to get and what information you don't want to, like, you don't care for as much. So if you're going to put a
There.
smoke here, maybe you can get one that I'll show you shortly, which will land like around here. So it'll clear both of these angles in pizza. But if you're not putting a smoke there, you can get one that lands like
Where
up
are
here.
you?
Okay, that one just bounced off the roof for some reason.
Mark
But you
two.
can get them to land like up here and even all the way up
I'll
here.
find you.
So then you'll start getting
Mark
that
one.
information about
There.
whether they're in this area here instead. There isn't one that I've found like that you can do from mid that'll get you all this information about
Weapons
both
here.
like both corners of pizza as well as this sort of area back here, unfortunately. But I'll show you now. If you just line it up, you can see this roof from all the way back here. Now to get it
There.
up there, again, easily, you'll be exposed to this area. But when you are covered from there, it's easy to look and just go, okay,
There.
well, that's going to be the edge there. Maybe aim it a little bit to the left to be a bit safer.
find
Just
you.
run and throw. That'll land there. And then
Mark
it'll clear
three.
out both of those angles of pizza. You can also do it if you know that here is clear. You can just come to the right a little bit.
I'll find
Again,
you.
just throw it up and it'll land there.
Mark-
But if you do want somewhere to tuck yourself into with an actual lineup to clear pizza, you can try coming down here. And this is very, very forgiving. Just literally aim in this general sky area. If you really want, put that onto there. You can see there on the left side,
There.
right here. Land that up like so.
I'll find
And then
you.
just throw it normally. It will land up there
Mark
and
two.
clear out pizza. But with pizza, I feel like you can just clear that out. Normally, you can even just
Where
throw it
are
right there. Something like that.
Mark.
Because you don't need a fancy lineup for this. If someone shoots it, they'll be in pizza, and then you know, okay, there's someone in pizza. As you can see with the marker, there is this big gap here, which it is going to be possible to get a haunt into. But again, with a lot of these mid lineups, you are either going to be exposed to
There.
someone peeking from tree,
There.
or someone peeking from bottom mid, and half the time even both. In general, on attack, clearing parts of mid with your haunt isn't that useful. You can just throw it into
Where
those
are we?
corners, and you'll be able to hear if someone
Mark three.
like shoots it from pizza. Here, if someone
Where are
shoots it
you?
from cubby, because you can just throw it in areas
four.
where it's only going to be able to shot from those parts. Like if you throw it back into that corner, they're only going to shoot it from here, so you can just clear it out like that without the need for any lineups. Now when it comes to defense, there are a few little lineups I like to use. This first one is a little bit aggressive. You want to use it right at the start of the round and get back before you can get shot. In this sort of area near pizza, I'm going to be aiming to get it right on there. So if you aim
There.
right around this area, you can see there's that giant like clock tower over there. Just aim towards the top middle of it,
There.
right where I put that ping, and you want to be throwing it from like right where this doorway is. Obviously you're not going to be able to look at the doorway, but just keep in mind right about there is where you want to jump and throw it from.
There.
Again, aiming around there,
I'll find
and then
you.
you can see that one's going to land pretty
Mark
much
two.
on the edge of this roof, so you can see it'll
There.
clear top mid, it'll
There.
clear a lot of this area towards cat,
There.
it'll clear in here, and you can see
There.
it pinged that guy in tiles as well. That's a good aggressive one to clear like top mid, some of tiles and stuff. Obviously, like with a lot of these, if you're throwing it really, really consistently, people will either break it or figure out places to hide from it. Like they could
There.
hide here, then push you from tiles and you might not expect it. I'm gonna sound like a broken record with this point, but don't use these too consecutively or too consistently. There is one from tree that can be pretty useful, because obviously you don't want to be peeking this too much, but you might want to get some information from tree. So if you stand sort of in line with this, then aim
There.
at that point there where that line means that line at the top.
I'll
Just
find
aim
you.
there, it'll bounce off and it'll land
Marked one.
right really nicely on this box right here. Again,
There.
clearing. It won't quite reach top mid, but if
There.
anyone's pushing up cat,
There.
if anyone's pushing in from tiles, this one's really good for just clearing mid in general. It won't
There.
get that cubby, but if you need a bit of information, There's another one from tree, probably the only one from tree realistically, because you're not going to get much by throwing it up through there or anything like that. There are gaps here in the roof in market, but from what I'm seeing so far, you can't really consistently get it anywhere too useful. Like, there's only really one corner to go from, and then off that, you can't really get it anywhere too consistently. You can do that, but it's not going to reach top mid. I think I pinged that guy down there, but it's not going to reach tiles and stuff like that. One thing that you can do, which sort of lines up there as well, and it is starting to move into the B territory a little bit, but if you come on top of this thing and you want to be jumping off here for both of these that I'll show you, first off, if you want to aim right there, jump off and throw it around there, you can see it'll go nicely right over that into mid. So there's one thing that you can do again, might just get people as they're coming down catwalk, we'll clear out this cubby, we'll catch people as they're coming in from tiles and stuff like that, and then from that same spot you want to aim in between those 2 points, that gap right there. Then you can see it'll go very nicely through and into tiles, and this one will catch people really off guard. You can also get it to land right on this roof up here if you want, and you can do that just by like jumping off a little bit earlier and also aiming a little bit higher. So you can see a jump off LJ there, it'll land on the roof and it'll clear. These guys won't clear directly underneath, but again, at the start of the round, there's not going to be 5 people hiding in this corner, just so they avoid your recon. So you get some pretty easy information towards mid and tiles with those lineups for mid on defense. Now moving on to B side, unfortunately, just attacking in general and defending in general, there aren't too many lineups you can get because there are so many corners, for example, like here in logs and here, where the only real way to get them both is by throwing it like out in the open like that, or maybe even throwing it over the top of here, something like that if you really wanted, because you can get it like on top of the roof, say like up here for example, but that'll only get one. Like you can see that one doesn't even get there somehow. There's just not many places that you can clear out these sort of angles with really high looping haunt ones like you could on the A side, and it's a similar thing on defense. There's not much that you can really latch it onto. Where there is a lot of potential on the B side though is when it comes to lineups for actually like defending the spike after you've already planted it and retaking the site. There are still a lot of lineups that you can do. You can clear a little bit of sight with this one lineup into this corner, and then you want to aim, like you want to use this as a bit of a reference, and where these 2 different lines meet, like right around here, so a little bit to the left of that, and then just right there. There's not much on your HUD you can line up with. You could use this as a little bit of a guidance. That line meets the top of the box, put that little diamond above your horn a bit to the right there, and you will see that this one goes and lands on top of that box, which can clear out a few of these angles on site. This is one of those ones that you'd use as your team pushes in and clears sight, and you can use this to help them do that. And again, to clear out some of these sort of angles, that's probably going to be your best bet, just doing something like that. You can also just try from a bit further back, throwing it through there, and it'll still clear out those sort of angles. You could throw one into market if you want to clear market. Stairs is really difficult to clear with any sort of lineup. You can just try throwing it over the top there. I don't even think, yeah, it doesn't go far enough. Throwing it through there. So your best bet is just going to maybe bouncing it off there a little bit. And then you can clear stairs and some of CT and that little corner there as well. So that's actually a decent one. If you throw it into that corner, you can see it clears a lot of those angles on your left. And then you could just focus on logs and market. That's not much of a lineup, but again, that's just kind of how B site is. And I will talk about post plant both for attack and defense in a second, because that's where it gets good. On defense, all you can really do is get some early information by throwing it over the roof, either by dropping it, like you can see, it can clear this area. If you do a running jump off of this edge and throw it over the roof, you can get some of that early information, although you will find that sometimes it can be a bit inconsistent. It'll get up here and it will give you information about lobby and even some of tiles, but then it won't tell you about who's actually already come inside main. So you can also just throw it sort of through like these windows up here, just chuck it in there, see who's coming in to visit the B site. If you rely a lot on actual lines on the map and want to get some early information, you can try standing on this line right here, aiming above this little post here, and then just do a running through, and you'll see it will drop outside and get that nice information about lobby and main. You can also try this one. To come into this corner on site, you want to aim there where like the post holding up the sign is, and you can see you can get it into that window, which we'll see people coming into here. They'll probably break it because it's going to be right in front of them, but it might catch them off guard as well. And then again, moving into the retakes and stuff is where it's going to get good. So switching up, I'll go to like defense retaking first. What you can do is if you stand roughly around here, like right on this little ledge here, this one is very easy to do. You don't have to be too accurate with it. Just stand up on this little bit and then aim right there. You can see there's this sort of square here with the pipes. Aim at that left corner, just do a jumping throw there, and then you can see it'll land on top of this and it'll clear out a lot of these different corners. I didn't put a sage here, but it'll clear out there as well. I'll talk about backside a bit later, but I'll go over a few more first. As a defender, another good lineup for retaking the site after the attackers have planted it, you want to aim for like right at this little window here. You can see you want to aim for basically that top right corner of the window, or the closest you can see to it from this corner, and you'll see when you throw it there, it'll land right on the edge of this and it'll clear out here, anywhere like under this as well. There, it will miss default and it will miss here, but there's just an alternative you can do. It'll get you a little bit more information about backside as well if anyone is peeking it. This obviously isn't going to be one that you want to stand here and spend a long time doing, but if you go from roughly on top of this little square on the ground and aim roughly there, you can see that it's going to land pretty nicely in between the site and backside. So it'll get some information about anyone backside and it'll clear out a lot of these angles like so. But when it comes to backside, you sort of have to decide whether you want to clear backside or you want to clear all the closer angles on site. What I'd normally recommend doing is some of these other lineups I've shown so far. Let's say like this one from back here. Get it right here. Get the information about all of these, and then use some other piece of util to clear backside. Maybe you've got your C's, maybe you've got your Prowler, maybe you've got teammates live with other util to help you clear backside or smoke it off or something. You just get a lot more information on site rather than on backside with these horns. Now moving on to when you're an attacker, you've got the spike planted and you are looking to see where the defenders are coming from. When you can do, come into this corner right here, jump once and it'll like push you out a bit because that ledge is what you want though. Then you want to aim, like you can see, right at this kingdom logo in this aqua area at the top left of that. So again, you want to come to this box in this corner, jump, it'll push you out, then aim there, and then do a throwing, like jump and throw. And you can see it lands up here and gives you all this information about people coming out of market, people coming out of CT. So you want to use this one when you start hearing some footsteps, or you would have already wanted to jump out here. Maybe you're starting to hear some utility come in, some footsteps. Then you can throw this one up here and it'll show you where people are actually coming from. It'll even clear some of that, pretty a lot actually. It'll clear a lot of this sort of area down lane as well. So you get a very good idea of where the defenders are coming from. If you want a bit more information about CT, what you can do is come into this corner right here, then sort of in between the edge of this roof and the top of this gray spike. It might be hard to see in the video, but if you're in game, there's like a darker blue up here and a lighter blue up here. Use that as a guide in between, again, the roof and this gray spike. Then just do a normal throw and it will land right on this edge here. So it'll get information about people coming in from the defender spawn, as well as down here in stairs, stuff like that. Another one, what you can do is come against this back wall, and then you want to be like lined up with the middle of this roof here. And then if you line up all these little lines in between your abilities with the top of this like first grade box here, like along this sort of level, you line those up and then throw it. It's a normal throw, no jump. It'll stop nicely right on the top here, giving you all this information about CT, market, main if there's someone flanking you. Really good one there. That's really all the lineups I've got for Ascent. Again, the 2 points that I want to make really clear. I know I said them earlier, but half the time lineups with her aren't even that necessary, especially with the indicator that it gives you when to drop it. You can see you'd still get all that information about the people coming in without having to have any sort of lineup. A lot of the time you won't have to rely on anything, just like that. You still get all that information. Then when you are winging it, you want to make sure you get in the habit of getting it higher up if you can. For example, if you want to ping someone back there, you could just throw it down there to the side, or you could try and get it on top of that box there, because it'll still give you that same information, but it'll throw off their crosshair placement a lot more. Like they've, instead of just having to shoot it there at the same level, they've got to look all the way up there to get it. And additionally, it'll just get over natural barriers in the game. Like on this part of the map, obviously even just on Ascent in general, there's not going to be a Viper. But you can see in this clip here, because I throw it higher up, it recons this Reyna through the Viper's wall. Whereas if I just threw it on the ground, that Reyna would not have been pinged. Wait, that was some lineups for Fade on Ascent. Let me know what maps you guys want to see next, and also let me know if you want like a more general guide to Ascent as playing Fade, like not so much focus on lineups, more just general stuff like where you want to be playing, maybe if A site's better than B site, and also using her other utility on this site, like if you're attacking A, sure, maybe you've got a good lineup here or two, like let's say you're going with this lineup,
Where are you?
you drop there, get all this information, but then what next? Like where to use your prowlers, where to use your Cs, where to use your ultimate. If you guys want that sort of stuff, let me know and I'll be sure to make videos for that. And yeah, just any feedback you guys have on this is really good for me. It's the first type of like lineup video like this I've made, so let me know. Otherwise, that's it for me for now, and I'll see you all next time. See ya.